Atheer, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And then I'm happy to talk about something we've done. It's like a real use case that involves, apparently oil and gas and usage of AI agents. Hopefully, it will inspire someone in the domain that will do something similar.
Absolutely. So, what is the tech stack we're going to be seeing today? Just to set the expectation for the session.
Yeah. So this is a use case about using a mix of AI agents and automations um, to move the, or let's say to enable the user, let's say the non-technical user, uh, to talk with an SQL database using natural language. That's, let's say, that's like very high level summary for what we've
Perfect.
done.
Perfect. Let's get into it.
All right. So yeah, this is the like a very brief agenda. So we have the business problem, and then the solution. We're going to talk about the solution concept and then how we did that. And then if there is any question from your from you, or I don't think no one is joining us, right? We're just me and you, right?
Just the two of us.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have any question, and then after you post the episode, just tag me in it in case if any of the audience has any question. I'll be also happy to
Absolutely.
answer. So the whole idea, let's say the whole project started from a question actually from a friend here in Texas. So that person, he has a company that sells hydrofracking fluids, and let's say hydrofracking propants. And then he has, just like any other company, he has a lot of competitors. And then there's a website called Frac Focus. It's here in the US, and then this is basically kind of like a registry for all the frac jobs that are done in the US. So you come here, and then you select the state, and then let's say you select the county, and then after that, it will give you, let's say, a list of all the wells. And once you click on on any of these wells, or let's say any of these kind of like points, it will list all the wells below these points. And when you open the any of these wells, you will get a whole list about kind of like the composition of the water fluid that was used to frack that well. And then there's also other information like what the well is operating, like the operating company of the well, the TVD of the well, and there's also like a PDF report with that well, and then that's like even further information that you can like learn about the well itself. So the issue is, or let's say the problem that my friend was kind of like facing is, you see that you only have, let's say if you switch to the advanced search, you only have very few, let's say, filters um, to kind of like search or subset your data. Um, you cannot, for example, ask a question like, give me all the wells in Texas state, Midland County, let's say this city that has, let's say, proppant percentage more than 50% between this date and this date. You cannot ask like very complex questions because you kind of like limited to what's in here.
Yeah.
Um, Now, the good thing is that this website, they have, let's say they release a weekly backup of their data, and then this backup comes in a form of a CSV and um, an SQL backup. So two files, a week old. Uh, now,
So that website, sorry, just to understand, that website,
yeah,
that is a public database. It's not gated.
yes,
You didn't have to
uh,
sign into your account. It's offered to the public.
yes, and then I think it's like a backed by the government.
Okay.
Um, uh, and then it's like a regulation for all the yeah, managed by the groundwater production council.
Okay.
So it's basically
Yep.
governmental. And then uh, all the kind of like the operating companies that are required to disclose the content of the fracking fluid, because that basically it's something that you're injecting like subsurface. So they want to make sure that you're not, let's say, hurting any like aquifers, or let's say any underground, yeah, resources.
Yeah.
Um, so now the thing is, yeah, as I said, um, the website, or let's say that entity, they release their data on weekly basis, but they release it like in two forms. One is a CSV file, and then the other form is an SQL backup.
Hmm.
Now, this is good, but let's say imagine for someone in the field who wants to kind of like look up something on the fly, or even let's say a company manager that wants to kind of like query something. This is still kind of like an inconvenient way to, I don't know, pull up a laptop, open that CSV, and by the way, they kind of like release multiple CSV files, and then it might happen that you don't have, let's say, the most up-to-date CSV, or let's say the most up-to-date SQL. So these are all, I mean, so we still have the problem. Now, the idea is, so yeah, this is kind of like a description for what we talked about, like all these issues, and also adding to that, I mean, we cannot, let's say, plot something if we want to, let's say, plot something over time, or let's say compare two things like using visualizations. This is like not available functionality in this website. So the first thing that comes to mind, since like we are in the time of the AI agents, is that why don't we use AI agents to convert that user question to something actionable, something like whatever framework that we will construct will understand it, and then we will get the answer, and then convert the answer into a human readable language, and then send it back to the user without, let's say, having the user to go through all these technical details. And then just like we wanted to keep the things very user friendly. So this is the architecture that I've worked on. Now I'll come and explain every kind of like single node of it. So the first thing is, or let's say the first problem that we wanted to automate here is this website releases data on weekly basis. And then we wanted to make sure that the user is interacting with the data not older than 1 week. So like whenever, let's say, let's assume that the data comes every Thursday. So whenever the data comes out, then the user will, or let's say, there has to be a schedule somewhere that takes that data and then upload it. So what we used is we used the N8N. That I guess that's the main reason that why we have this podcast, because it's you brought it in a post, and then it caught my attention. So N8N is an automation platform that what really makes it special is a couple of things, but one of them, it's very user friendly. It's a bunch of kind of like a nodes, just like drag and drop them. And then the other thing is uh, they have a local, or let's say they have an open source version. So the open source version, you can deploy it locally, so you don't worry about let's say resources, or let's say spending tokens on it, or data security, and also you can deploy it. I want to bring something. Okay, so you can deploy it on something like as small as the Raspberry Pi. And then for people who are not familiar with Raspberry Pi, it's like a kind of a computation board of this size. So imagine that this is like this runs on 5 volts, so it's a USB, any USB cable, and it's like 24/7 automation server under your disposal without the need to go, let's say, online, or let's say without the need to expose your data online. Now, why did we use the N8N? We use the N8N to a couple of things, but one of them is to automate the process of bringing the data from Frac Focus. So once they release the data dump here, then N8N has a timer. Let's say that timer runs every week, and then what it does, it will pull a copy of the data, whether it's CSV, or whether it's let's say an SQL backup, and then we'll run Python code to clean up this data, so to say, because Frac Focus, they release, I think, around 50 or even more CSV files. So we need to kind of like read all of them, clean them up, make them one file, and upload them to wherever we're saving these files. And then, by the way, you can also do that on this board. So you can also have Python installed on this board, and it can like you can trigger the code after you download the files. Now, once we say cleaned up the files, we will push them into an S3 bucket, and then that's on AWS, Amazon AWS, and it can be anywhere as long as it's accessible from your let's say agent, or let's say it's accessible from the framework that you want to send your questions from. So in my case, I used AWS, and then the reason why I just used like a Postgres database that it is on AWS, but in let's say in general, you can use any resource that has a Postgres database. And if you're deploying things locally, so if this whole solution is locally, you don't need to go to cloud. You can just have your database deployed locally. So now what we've done so far, we downloaded the data from Frac Focus. We cleaned it up using N8N, and then we pushed the data into AWS Postgres database. Now, how do we? So like what we have right now, we have the data ready. It's a tabular data in, let's say, very long table. Now, how do we convert the user question into an SQL query? Because that's the whole challenge.
Yeah, sorry, just to interrupt. A couple of questions.
Yes.
One is, everything you've shown is orchestrated by N8N, right? So it's the download
Yes.
data from the website, they push through that pipeline, all the way,
Yes.
everything is orchestrated by N8N.
Yes. To this point, yes. Everything is managed by N8N.
Yeah.
N8N is managing the schedule, downloading, cleaning up, uploading the data to your SQL database. Now, in order to convert the like the user question to let's say to an SQL query, because that's the whole point. We use a couple of things. So we use like for the core, we used Open AI, or let's say, I mean, you can use any LLM basically. And then the goal here is, or let's say the main task that you do, you need to kind of like kind of like a fine tuning a little bit, just for the LLM to understand the nature of the queries that you're using. So in my cases, I gave simple queries, examples for the data that I have to the LLM, and then the prompt was using these queries as an example, using this schema, because you have to make sure that the LLM does not, let's say, invent a new data schema. It has to, let's say, stick with the table name, column names, data types, and all of that. And then the let's say the task of the LLM will be converting questions like the one that we mentioned before. Let's say, give me all the wells in Texas Midland that have let's say frac fluid concentration more than 50% between uh, May until June 2025. Now that what the LLM will do is will go and then do like select wells from this table where all this, and then we'll construct all the conditions that we have. And then the output will be a table. Now, again, back to NAN, what we did is the NAN will take that tabular output, and then we'll also, if we want, let's say, add a specific format to it, or let's say if we want to add another chart to it, or let's say if we want to save that output somewhere, we can do all of that
Yeah.
using NAN. But uh, with in our case, we send that response back to the user. Now, this response can be sent in multiple forms. The nice thing is Flowwise AI gives you the, let's say, the freedom to. So this is also, I just wanted to, since we're talking about Flowwise AI, this is the interface of the Flowwise AI. You can see that it's also like very user friendly. You can simply drag and drop, select your model, and you see that, for example, in here they created like a couple of agents. So like you have like sales agent, technical agent. So in our case, let's say if we want to calculate, I don't know, sweep efficiency, or let's say anything subsurface related, we can create like a specific agent for that, and then that will the execution will go through that agent according to the question that we're asking.
Yeah.
So, um, uh, and then I also used a service called Vercel. So what Vercel does, basically, it, let's say, it hosts the UI, because the Flowwise doesn't give you a UI. It just gives you like an endpoint that you can connect to it. It gives you like an let's say an API point that you can connect to it, or let's say add to your website. Now the Vercel is where you're gonna host your website, and then add the chatbot to it. Now with that, you will need to have some sort of let's say version control, because you will keep adding let's say features to your dashboard, let's say to your solution, or like removing features, and you want to make sure that this is all tracked. So that's why I used GitHub. So the workflow was is my development is in VS Code, and then VS Code is connected to GitHub. So once you push, let's say I changed something in the website design, or let's say I changed something on the features that I have. All of these will be pushed automatically to the website, and then will be deployed without me interfering. So this is also just to show you how the website, like how the final website look like. So this is like kind of a imaginary website that I created, and you can see it's on Vercel. dot up. So what I do is if I want to say do any changes, I just do the changes in VS Code,
You push
and
it
then
there.
VS Code, yes, VS Code will push it to, we'll do two things. We'll push it to GitHub, and we'll also Vercel is connected to GitHub, and once Vercel sends that there is a change on the, let's say, downstream or say on the upstream, it will update the website, redeploy it,
Yeah,
and will kind of like reflect all the change. So it's really like a very automated process.
yeah.
And then this is how the chatbot will appear. So
Before we
all
see how it works, can we go back just a couple of questions on the
yes,
slide? So for OpenAI to construct the query, did you have to train it? Just this is just a one-off process, right? So once you build a database and you pass the schema
yeah,
as context, and then you train it with a few queries, that's pretty much done. You don't have to redo that stuff every single
no,
time. So it's
yeah. You actually, I mean, in fact, you're not like really training it because it's gonna be like a long prompt, and then within the prompt, you will insert these examples of queries, and then when you send the prompt, you already sent examples of queries along with the schema to the LLM model.
So just to understand this, this is the environment where you build the N8N flow, but why can't you do it directly in N8N?
Okay, so there are like two things in the challenge here. There's the automation thing that NAN is really good at, and there's like the agentic part of the things that deals with, let's say, natural language processing, or let's say natural language questions, which Flowise is good at. Now, for the tasks that are, let's say, very predictable, or let's say very consistent, let's say, downloading the data, uploading the data, cleaning up the data, these are like all repeatable tasks that I'm not expecting them to change. This is like where I put it at NAN and 8N. Now, for the tasks that are more on the, let's say, the natural language, let's say, handling the questions and converting them into um, uh, uh, SQL queries, that's where you're going to use the LLM. Now, this work is, I think, not for now, I think it's like a year old. Uh, Probably I'm not. I mean, I saw some LLMs nodes in but I'm not sure like how easy will be the implementation if you move everything to NAN, especially like if you're dealing with agentic implementation. If you want to create, let's say, multiple agents that handle multiple tasks, let's say not only questions about the data. Maybe the user wants to plot something, or maybe the user wants to calculate something from the data. Um, the way that Flowise do it is very straightforward. You can just like drag an AI agent node, and then put your prompt inside, and then you can connect it to any LLM you have. You can even connect it to like locally deployed LM. Say that you have at your home server deployed Olama. You can simply just like connect it to that model, and then run it from there. So
Yeah,
it's really depends
I
on what
hear
you're
you.
trying to
I
do.
hear you.
Yeah.
So I thought that precisely one of the added values of N8N, although I haven't used it materially myself, just minor testing, is precisely you could bring those nodes, and depending on the output, you could call external functions, which is exactly as Flowise AI different
Yeah.
agents.
Uh,
Um,
so Alan, I think because NAN also has a node that you can write Python code inside. So like whatever is not available, you can always
yeah.
write it, create it. The I think that it comes down to the issue of maintaining things and then scaling them up.
Mm,
Uh, like let's say you manage to move all your Flowise implementation to an 8N, and then like you wrote a Python function for all the tasks that are unavailable. Now the question is, are these maintainable and also scalable or not? I mean, is this like, are we creating kind of like a technical debt, or is this going to kind of like scale without any effort, or let's say without any pain? I guess that's
Yeah.
the main. But like for me personally, I love NAN, and I think a lot of things uh, can be solved in NAN before we kind of like jump to create like an AI agent, and
Yeah.
kind of like get, yeah, kind of like uh, dive into this like LLM world.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So let's go and see the this beautiful thing
So
in action.
so this is a recording for the the agent, or let's say the website in action. And let me see if I can zoom it in. So what we're looking at here, this is the user question. So what are the suppliers count in Midland? Make sure you drop the duplicates. And then this is the response. And then what you look at the background here, this is how the agent is creating the, let's say, converting your question into like an SQL query. Um, so you can see that what are the supplier counts in Midland, drop the duplicates. And then if you see that, let me go back a little bit. If you see that, this is the query that it created. So select, and then the count distinct closure, where the county name is Midland, group by supplier, order by supplier, and then you give like the limit. So this is, you can see that, for example, this limit 10, this was given at the prompt templates, because someone might ask, okay, I did not ask it to limit it by 10. Why did it do that? This was given at the prompt. Now this was like after a couple of trials and errors, because it was outputting like a long table, and then I decided just to limit it by 10. But this is how the this is like how, like, this is where the LLM comes
Is
into the
that
picture.
the flowwise command line we're
Yes,
looking at there?
yes, that's the flowwise
Yeah.
command line, and then this is the like the response from the flowwise web pointer, let's say webhook.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you can the thing is, like, flowwise also gives you the ability to uh, get, let's say, three more questions, or let's say three related questions. So total count of suppliers in Midland, in terms of count, 50. Oh, well, let's say just three more questions for you if you want like a follow up
Yeah.
question. So this is, yeah, this is the like this is the query that was converted, and then
And
I
that
think it was
chatbot, the chat we're seeing there on the right hand side is the one on your website, on the Vercel
yes,
deployed
and
app.
then, yes, and then the nice thing is Flowise will give you like an HTML block that you, like, let's say, even if you have, let's say, a website, you don't need to do anything. You just need to,
Just need to embed
in
that
the
block.
front
Yeah.
page, add that HTML block, and the pop-up will appear like at the lower left, or let's say lower right, and you can customize it, let's say, to your brand, to like to do like a lot of things with it. And this is
So
kind of like,
really, that's all you need. You just need that chatbot HTML block and run that
yes,
anywhere. You don't need the Vercel app at all, other than putting obviously some context for the user.
no. Yeah, you can just, yeah, you can just add that HTML block to your and then you can see that in the GitHub. This is the index page, and that's my HTML, and that's it. Like, only
Yeah.
these two things, and I just added like the HTML here, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's very simple in terms of deployment. And then the nice thing is, when you change, let's say, you today you use OpenAI, and then tomorrow you decided to use Claude. You don't need to change anything on the website, because that will be the same endpoint. It won't affect
Yeah,
the endpoint.
sure.
So like anything you change on the upstream, it will not affect uh, the user will see the change only. So this is also, let me see. Yeah, so I asked show me a bar chart for the count over years for the Weldon Midland before 2015. Make sure to remove the duplicates. Um, and then the nice thing is it creates a bar chart inline. So the math is done, or let's say the calculation is done here, and then the bar chart will be shown
Mm.
kind of like inline. And then now you can also, let's say, do things like send a copy of this chart to, uh, I don't know, an email or like a text message, or you can configure all of that in Flowwise.
I presume that in this particular example, the schema is a relatively simple one. So you wouldn't have needed to do too much training, let's call it training for the sake of this conversation,
No, yeah,
for OpenAI to get the query right. But even if the database is more complex and the schema is a little bit more complex, because it's fixed, provided you do just, a couple of steps of training just for OpenAI to get the schema right, you wouldn't have to iterate too much to get it to get the query right, right?
if you yeah, so if you let's say you have multiple tables, multiple schemas, uh, you can simply save all of these schemas into, let's say, a .md file,
Yeah,
and then put that MD file in your Flowwise, or at least like tell Flowwise where to find it,
yeah,
and then in your prompt, you can say, okay, if the question is on the wells, then use this schema from this file. If the question is on the frac fluid, use this schema, and then so on. So you have a lot of control on how to keep
yeah,
this work modularized, or let's say kind of like segmented or like abstracted, uh, because um, you need to kind of think about scaling up in mind when you kind of implement. And then if it's like more than one table, yeah, I wouldn't put that like as a let's as a context inside the prompt. I would like abstract that away, and then just like tell the context, tell the prompt to where to find these in the let's say in the whole workflow.
yeah. I think overall, this is a relatively simple thing to build for a user, and it has immediate utility. Obviously, the example you provided is database of frac fluid data and frac jobs, but
Yeah. Yes.
any
Yes.
government database is going to be, the challenge is going to be pretty similar. And every government website is typically very clunky, so every user would relate to the pain that you're depicting with this specific example, but this can be immediately applied in any other government database in any context, so it's really
Yes, and
useful.
then, it can be like uh, it can be directly implemented back to this website as like a chatbot here.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can simply just talk with the chatbot
Have you
instead of
done that? Have you talked to these guys and say, hey, how about this?
um no, because usually then it's like there's a lot of like red tape here. So
Yeah, for sure, for
uh,
sure.
most likely, yeah, you will get a no. The thing is, so we were lucky in this website. They were providing, let's say, a dump of their data weekly. Now, in the applications where you don't have access to like a nice copy of the data, that's also where NAN will shine, because you will be doing like some scraping and then some like data aggregation, and in order to prepare the data before being able to query if we are doing the same task. Uh, but yeah, it's I think the value of it comes from being able to ask questions that you're not able to ask using
No,
this kind
absolutely,
of interface.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And it
yeah, yeah.
streamlines just the process of downloading the CSV and viewing the data alone is already valuable without even the complexity of building SQL queries. Just
Yes, and
now, on top of that, you build the queries and extract information that you cannot. interrogate with the controls you're given in the website. That's obviously a plus.
The nice thing also is that uh, you can containerize all of this into one Docker container. So let's say I want to share this work with you, and then you want to deploy it on your website, or let's say you want to deploy it somewhere. Uh, it can be as simple as a text file, and then you just need to kind of spin up Docker on your end, upload that text file, and then Docker will start building all the kind of components for you, and it will kind of run that. Maybe you only need to provide it with your credentials if you're using something, let's say if you're using any outside LLM, or let's say if you decided to, um, because with Docker you can also deploy a database like within the container, so you don't need to go outside. So you pull a data from the website and then save it to your local database within the container. So the data is not going anywhere. Maybe the only thing that needs to go outside is to send your questions to OpenAI to convert the user questions into queries, and then send and bring it back, run it against your database, and that's it.
Cool. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm not sure whether
Yeah.
you'll be able to do this, but I'm going to try. You know, in Make Integromat, when you run a scenario, it basically shows you which module is running through. So it tells you how things are progressing as you run the scenario. So each step is basically lit up for you to see. Can we do something along those lines to see on the back end how things are progressing after you submit the query through the chat?
I'm happy to like have another maybe session, just like around 8 and N, if there's like an interest. We can like have a separate session to show people like what is N8N, and then how maybe we can tie that in with some oil and gas use cases if the audience is interested.
Look, I mean, I don't know what you perceive on your ends. From what I perceive here is there are a lot of people who are interested in this stuff, but they haven't had the time to play with any of these things. I think that's extremely valuable for users to actually get them started and just for to show them that
Yeah,
it's not rocket science. It's
no, no, it's not, and then it can really save their like their time and effort for a lot of like repetitive tasks on daily basis. Let's say data cleansing, or like, I don't know, all of these aggregations and the things that kind of like repeats, but it needs some like it needs a lot of time to be get, let's say, get done with. And I know that the majority of the oil and gas people are usually like busy people. They don't have time to um, uh, like work with this stuff. So yeah, we can. Well, we can. Yeah, we can always like arrange a session on 8 and N.
yeah, we can always organize. It doesn't need to be this very workflow. It could be any other to make the point of how valuable
Yes.
getting
Yeah.
your hands on these tools is. So yeah, let's have a chat offline and we can organize a follow-up session. That would be great on the
Uh,
N8N specifics.
it's very capable. Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah,
Especially if you like, if you go into the path of like writing your own functions. There's a lot of potential over there.
absolutely. All right,
Yeah.
this was great, man. This was a really good
Well, thank you so
overview of
much
what could be
for having
built.
me.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure, and definitely will be touching base again to organize a follow-up. I'd be very keen.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, mate. Thank you for coming on. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Cheers, mate.